What's up, guys? Today we have what I think might be the best Propstream tutorial out there on YouTube. From beginner to expert, we got Burton from Propstream to really go in depth and give us some insight on how we can use the platform. Whether you're a wholesaler trying to skip trace leads to get your first deal, or you're a fix and flipper needing to run comps and get ARV, there really are so many features on this platform. And Burton was kind enough to go really in depth for us. As always on my channel, I promise to be completely honest with you guys. And if you do decide to use the link in the description to sign up for Propstream, I will get a small percentage of that sale. But that link will also get you a 7-day free trial. So there's no harm in diving in, checking out some of the features he talks about today, and seeing how they might work for you. He covers a lot of ground in this tutorial, so I'm going to leave timestamps in the description so you can find exactly what you're looking for. If you're already a subscriber, welcome back. And if you're new here, my name is Lily, and on this channel, we talk about real estate investing, personal finance, and just ways for us all to increase our level of financial freedom. So tell me what type of real estate investing you're interested in the comments, turn that like button blue, and let's dive into the tutorial.
All right. So when you first log in with Propstream, what we will actually do is kind of give you a pop-up. It's just going to let you know all of the new things that we are constantly pushing out through Propstream. So this is the new mobile app announcement, the list automator announcement, and just for support on a weekly basis, we have weekly webinars for you. It's at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So when you see this pop up, feel free to register. It's for free. Seats are limited. So just make sure you get in there as soon as you can. Okay.
Awesome.
But when you hit close, we're going to take your IP address and zoom in on your market. So you'll be able to see where we're at on the map. But the thing about Propstream is that we've been collecting data since 2006. And our goal was to obviously service every investor in the United States. So, many years later, about 15 years later almost, we're now here where we have nationwide data. So although it zooms in on your market, if you're in a virtual investor or you're helping someone else in a different market or trying to run comps on a property in a different market, you can search a different market here at the top or an address here at the top. Log in. We obviously believe that you're here to search a market and build your lists or search a specific property and run comps on it and analyze that property. So we believe that the first icon should definitely be the search. And so here at the top is where you perform your market search or your address search. This is what powers our filter. So instead of going through 910 pre-foreclosures, which is a lot, I can go into the filter and I can choose any of our 14 options: MLS, vacant, liens, pre-foreclosures, auctions, foreclosures, cash buyers, high equity. And these are the first 8 that we saw here on the map or above the map. And we have 6 more that are in our filter. Those are free and clear: bankruptcy, divorces, tax delinquencies, flippers. These are properties that have been flipped in less than 2 years. So someone bought them and within 2 years they're back on the market. And then we have failed listings, properties that didn't sell through the market successfully. So the idea is you can search a city or market or county or zip code, choose any of our 14, like pre-foreclosure, and stop there. But if 900 is still too much, now we can start diving into the additional filters, right? Do you want it owner occupied? Do you want it absentee owned? Or do you not care? Occupancy status, answering the mail. Do you want the person answering their mail? I do, because we want to send postcards. Or I don't, so I'm going to want to do a ringless voicemail with these 52, or both. You have property characteristics, same ones we were looking at in the details, right? You can choose classifications. I want a pre-foreclosure that's a residential. I want one that's a duplex. I want one that's a single family. I want one that's a triplex, a quadplex, and it's going to show you those results on the right-hand side. You have bedrooms, bathrooms, building size, lot size, year built, home features. For those that are doing multifamily properties, you have unit number ranges to search for, school districts. You can look for properties that are in or not in an HOA. And that's just property characteristics. And once we're done with that, now we can start stacking other criterias like MLS status. So what I'm doing is I'm taking pre-foreclosures and I'm cross-referencing it with the MLS. Or I can take any category for that matter and cross-reference it with the MLS. So here I can say I want a pre-foreclosure. In the MLS, I want it off market. But I have a firm philosophy that we're looking for problems, right? So pre-foreclosure is a problem. And of course, we want it off market so it's not with an agent, right? But we can also say we want it off market because it recently failed on market. So here are pre-foreclosures that failed, and there's 28 of them. So not only is a person facing an auction soon, but they try to sell it with an agent and the agent couldn't sell it. So now an investor with your wits can go in there and try to solve it using a different strategy. So build problems. Don't just say I want it off market. Think of a situation that would be a problem, right? A failed listing is a problem. What about an on-market property, right? One that's maybe been on market for more than 150 days now, 5 months. Those are problems because these are properties that are about to expire pretty soon. Just to keep it simple, I'll just choose on-market no, but get creative. You also have the pre-foreclosure and bank-owned status here. So this allows you to now refine your search. Since I'm looking for pre-foreclosures, I can choose one that's in an auction or one that's in a notice of default, one that was recorded in the last few months or in the last year or whatever time frame that you're looking for. Maybe one that has a certain auction date, or maybe a property that once had a pre-foreclosure, but it's been released, and you can search for that date. Opening bid and default amount are also searchable criteria. So feel free to use that. Now, the thing about this area here is right now, since I'm searching pre-foreclosures, this is refining that search because it matches. But if my search was a high equity search, then this is adding to it, right? So now I'm searching a high equity list that's off market. But now I also want it to have a notice of default. And so here are my high equity properties with the notice of default. So if the filter matches your quick list choice, you're refining it. If it doesn't match it, you're adding to it. Or if you don't want the pre-foreclosures, you can suppress it. Show me the high equity properties, but exclude the foreclosures. I don't want to deal with foreclosures. So here are the high equity properties that are off market with no foreclosures. So make sure you guys understand that these filters can play side by side with one another, or you can use them to stack and refine. Okay, so back to pre-foreclosures and a notice of default. Ownership info, years of ownership, individual type, last sell date, last sell price, absentee owner's location, and then whether that property was recently transferred between family members. So I want a pre-foreclosure that's owned by a person, not a corporation, and that person has lived in this property for at least 5 years or more. So they're committed. And then the next categories are lien, bankruptcy, divorce status. Do you also want, on top of your pre-foreclosure, a lien? Maybe a bankruptcy, right? How do you get out of a pre-foreclosure? You got to pay for it. Well, what about the ones that have a pre-foreclosure and a bankruptcy? And it's going to show you those results. So here are the 40 properties that have a really high probability of not being able to pay their pre-foreclosures, all because I'm looking for a pre-foreclosure and a bankruptcy at the same time. Maybe I want a divorce, or maybe I don't want any lien. So I want one that had a lien released or a bankruptcy that was dismissed. For those that are choosing liens, you can specify the liens. Which one of these pre-foreclosures that have a lien have a tax lien, have an HOA lien, or a child support lien? So these are the type of liens that you can look for, okay? This is also an area where you can suppress. Just like you can say MLS on or off market, just like you can say pre-foreclosure yes or no pre-foreclosure, the lien, bankruptcy, divorce status allows you to add a quick target status. Allows you to add. It also allows you to suppress. Maybe you don't want to deal with liens. You don't want to deal with bankruptcies. So you can take those out of your list. That way you're not coming across that situation. Okay, so this is an area where you can add a lien, a bankruptcy, divorce. You can take it away. And then finally, the last two are value and equity. The estimated value, the estimated rental income, how much the property has grown over the last 2 years, estimated equity based on a dollar amount or percentage. Like we want something that has 50% or more in equity. We can search by loan to value ratio. We can search by assessed total value. And then finally, mortgage information. So some of you guys are going to be looking for properties that are free and clear. So you're going to hit free and clear. Or some of you guys are going to look for property that has, one or two or three or four mortgages, because that's a level of motivation there, right? So right now we have 206 pre-foreclosures. How many of them have two mortgages, right? A first and a second. There's two of them. How many of them have just one mortgage? There's 71 of them. So you have the loan mortgage amount balance filter, the loan to value ratio filter based on percentage or dollar amount. You can see how many of these properties were once bought in cash. You can see how many of these properties are free and clear right now. How many of these properties have a private note, meaning that the owner is acting like the bank. So these are the filters that we have. And essentially, if you use it correctly, you're going to be able to build your own lists. So we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, looking for pre-foreclosures that are residential, single family, and duplexes. No HOA, not on market. It's in a notice of default or less pendants. It's been owned for 5 years or more by an individual. Also include unknown sell dates. It also has an active lien, or does not have a lien or bankruptcy, I'm sorry, and has 50% or more in equity with one open mortgage. So now when I hit close, we went from 910 pre-foreclosures to the 71 that meet my criteria. And again, the reason why we came up with these 71 is when we click on the property itself, it's the details. It's the details that we collect on the back end that's powered by the filters that lets you say, okay, yeah, it has 5 years or more in ownership. It has 50% in equity or more based on the value. It has one mortgage. And so that is how the filter works. It's all because of these details. And I want to leave off with the filters by saying this: build problems, not a list. And what I mean by that is you can go into the filter and you don't even have to choose a list. You could just use our filters to say, okay, the problem I want today is an absentee owner who's vacant, right? There's nobody in their house. It's failed recently on the market. The owner is a person who lives in a different state. And there's equity in it of about 60% or more. Okay. So I didn't choose a list. I just said, hey, these are the filters I want. I want someone who's not living in their house. It's vacant, so there's no one renting it out. It failed recently on the market. The owner lives in a different state, and it has 60% or more in equity. And boom, here are my 4 problems that I'm looking for. And now I can check those guys off and hit add to list. Now I can add it to an existing marketing list or a new list. So we can call this Burton's failed Tulsa list. And now we just built ourselves a motivated sellers list. So this is how the whole filtering and searching a property works. Those are the details that you have and the tools that you have available to you on the search page. This is where most of your time is spent. And once you have your properties and they've been stored in the My Properties page, remember that if you're searching a specific property, they go into the My Properties page, just like that 7701 we had. Or if I'm building a marketing list, then they're going to go into the marketing list area right over here. Okay. If we go down the toolbar, we can then skip trace that list we just bought or just built. And then in about 5-10 minutes in contacts, get their contact information. And then finally, we can go into campaign, start a new campaign, create that website, send out those postcards, ring list voicemails, and emails. So let's talk about lead generation, and let's talk about why we've become so amazing at lead generation. And the idea with lead generation that it's not a list that you buy and just put in our system and then let everybody kind of jump into that list. That is true in most aspects, but that's not really what we have designed our platform to do. So to kind of give you an idea of why and how powerful our lead generation system is, I have to talk about the details that we collect. And I do have a particular property that I pulled up in Miami that is like a perfect example of all the amount of details that we collect. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take the approach that we're going to be searching a specific property first. Okay. So pretend that, hey, you know what? Here's a property I'm interested in. I want to know the details. I want to run comps on it and do all of that stuff. So what details is Propstream providing me? Okay. So when you search an address, first thing we're going to do is we're going to zoom in on that address and we're going to take that zip code and say, hey, FYI, for your information, here's how many MLS listings are in that zip code, how many pre-foreclosures are in that zip code, how many bank-owned properties or foreclosures, cash buyers in case you need them, properties with a lien, properties not answering their mail, high equity properties. But the idea when you search a specific property is we want to give you the local knowledge. We want to say, hey, here's what's going on in the neighborhood, right? The listings that are at the top, we're going to show you the property and where it's at on the map. Below, we're going to show you the statistics. We have a lot of data to show you whether we've recognized price changes, rent changes, how the price per square footage has increased or decreased over the last year. We collect MLS data nationwide, and with that data, we're able to show you the days on market on an average. So this is a 4-bedroom property here. As you can see, a 4-bedroom property. If we bought the property and decided to list it, a 4-bedroom property on average lasts about 175 days on the market. So it's important because that's nearly 6 months of expenses that you're going to need to worry about, right? The lawn, the electrical, the HVAC, until this property sells. And then to the right, we're going to show you the property's preliminary details. And another thing that you can do is as you're, let's say, looking at the neighbors, you can zoom in on the map. The streets can turn blue. You can click on it and we give you like a street level view of that property. So you can kind of just get a virtual understanding of that environment. But now let's talk about the real bread and butter, right? We've searched a property. All this is happening, the listings in the zip code, the statistics in that zip code, the nearby listings. But what we really want to know is what is going on with that property. So what we need to do is either click on the address or go to the details. And what that's going to do is it's going to show you our property details page. And so every property in our database, we have over 153 million records in our database, has this layout that we call the property details. This right here at the very top is our dashboard. And what this kind of breaks down is all of the details that we've collected from different data sources onto this top layer to kind of give you preliminary information. And we hope this is enough information to make that informed decision. So the first thing that you can do is click on the photos. And by clicking on the photos, we're going to present to you any of the photos that we've collected. So typically you'll get bird's eye view, street view, or in this case, this property was once listed on the market back in August of 2018. And we have the photos stored for you so you can see what it looked like at that given moment. We have the bird's eye view. We have street view as well. And then we also have the property characteristics. So as you're looking at these photos, you can match up, the characteristics that are recorded. Below the photos, you have the property characteristics once again, including the APN. You have the property type. So this is just a summary of what the property is going through. So we have property type, status, distress, so it's in pre-foreclosure. Short sell means does it have negative equity or positive equity? So if it had negative equity, it would say yes. And that's just kind of like a, hey, heads up, wholesaling may not be the best option here, right? You might need to use a different type of strategy. And then we collect postal data, right? United States postal data. So here in occupancy, the Postal Service is letting us know that it's occupied, meaning someone's answering their mail. If it was vacant, it would say vacant, and that lets you know that, yeah, someone's supposed to be living there, but if it's vacant, it means they're not answering their mail. So if you try to knock on the door or send a postcard, that may not be the best approach right now. You might need to do a ringless voicemail. You might need to do an email or something that doesn't require physical mail or physical door knocking. Length of ownership, how the property was purchased, and the county it resides in. We're going to show you the estimated value and the last year's estimated value. And again, I don't want you to say this is exactly what the property's ARV is. That's not the ARV. This is just using data. So we have an algorithm that runs on the back end. It pulls data of local listings and local properties that sold, and it runs a calculation on it. But the problem is we're not looking at photos. We're just looking at the data. So this is a value based on not looking at properties that sold in full condition. This might also include properties that may have sold in as-is condition. So it kind of, veers off a little bit. Now, sometimes our estimated values right on spot, but I usually don't encourage you to go by it because I rather you go into our comps and pull reports that include photos, that include the address that you found, the comp of the address, or the address is comp, or the comp's address, right? That way you can see that and have the data that, yeah, there is a property that sold 2 months ago, a quarter mile away for this price, and here are the photos. Again, we're going to show you the comparables unfiltered, letting you know, hey, we have 28 comps that you can go through or more if you want to increase your radius. But within a 1 mile, there are 28. We average all their prices out. Average price of them all is $772. And again, this is an unfiltered result. So you want to make sure you go to our comps and run your filters. To the right, we show you the mortgage and debt summary. How many open mortgages there are. We can look up to 4 open positions. We also show you the liens. So there are 3 liens that we identified on this property, and they total about $250,000 right now. And that's important because if we didn't have the liens, you would have just thought the mortgage is all that you owed or all that you needed to pay. And when you call the owner to make that offer and the owner hangs up on you, this is probably why, because they're on the hook for more than just the mortgage. They need the $250,000 to get out of their situation as well. And then you have the opportunity, estimated equity. Estimated value minus the balance equals the estimated equity without including the lien amount. And then you have your monthly rent and then your last and prior sell. So this is kind of, I click on a property, boom, here are the details. Hopefully this is letting me know, you know what, there's motivation, there's equity, this person has lived there long enough, and it's not on market with an agent. Great. You know what I mean? So the idea here is that there's enough information here for you to make that quick decision. But if you're a data junkie like me, then all of this information is scattered into these different tabs that you see here. Now, we discovered that this property was in pre-foreclosure, so you can see the pre-foreclosure details there as well. So side by side, this is from one part of the county's office. This is another part of the county's office. But now, instead of going to 2 different websites or 2 different places in the county, they're side by side. We can see the active document here. Earlier, we discovered the property also had a lien. So here you'll be able to see those lien details. So again, a separate part, separate website, all brought together on this one page. They decided, you know what, let's try to sell the house for 1.2 and take care of everybody, right? Take care of the loan, take care of these creditors. Unfortunately, it didn't sell successfully. So now you're up against the wall, right? Couldn't sell through an agent. The lenders are now coming after you. The bank is deciding on the auction date, which they haven't yet. But once they do, what are your options now? And hopefully that's when the investor watching this can come in there and get them an opportunity or give them an alternative solution. Now it's time to get the ARV. So here in the comparables and nearby listings, I can run comps. I can see my neighboring records. I can see my cash buyers. If I'm at that point of the process now where I need to find a buyer because we locked up the contract. Maybe we've sold the property and we've done all of that stuff. And so we need the other pre-foreclosures and listings near the neighborhood. So this is our comparables area here. And as you can see, we have 9 comps that we can choose from that it just pulled for us. And the cool thing about these comps is I get to choose whether I want public records, Let me reset this for you. So I get to choose public records, which is all the records that are coming from the county. The county records every real estate transaction that occurs: cash transactions, transfers between family members, auctions, even properties that sold through the MLS. So this is the official recording house, right? And so you can run comps using county records. And here are the filters: year, date ranges, bedrooms, bathrooms, year built, square footages. Status is for MLS. So right now I can't use that because I'm in public records. But with public records, I can control the sell situation. Cash records, so you'll be able to see those cash transactions and see what buyers are willing to pay for, right? That's important too. Some investors out there try to make offers based on what buyers are willing to pay. If you see a buyer is only willing to pay $751, then you can't make an offer more than that, right? But for those that are trying to run comps using public records, I highly suggest using finance records. There is a catch-22 with it. Public records come from the county, and the county can sometimes take their time to record transactions. So that's where the MLS comes into play. So the MLS lets you tap into the agent's board, the MLS board in this area, or what the agents have access to. So now I can see all the properties that sold through the MLS and have the same filters. The only difference is that status is the option I have now. Now, by default, I usually see all the sold listings, but I can also see maybe pending listings, properties that are currently pending on right now, essentially one step from being sold. Or if I want to see what the market looks like today, I can see all the active listings and see why a property is being active or listed for $1.2 million, what it looks like in that area. The luxury with MLS is not just that you get to see properties that sold through the agent, but if you're in a non-disclosure state like Texas, Idaho, Utah, then MLS is the only option that you have. So for us to have the MLS is a huge benefit. The other benefit to the MLS is frequency. So when an agent sells a property, they get to run back to their office that same day and say it's sold and we sold it for this amount. Now that information gets sent to the public records and then they record it. Now that's the challenge, is sometimes if we organize it by date, sometimes you can see that the county is several months behind, right? The last recorded transaction in a 1 or half a mile radius around this property was back in May 26. But when I look at the MLS database and I say, okay, show me the last recorded transaction, well, we have 2 properties that sold in July that the county hasn't recorded yet. This property is a 4-bedroom, 5-bath. We're going to look for a 4-bedroom minimum, 5-bathroom minimum. Here are my results. I want sold. I want finance. Maybe I need to go more because I need more results. So maybe I need a 2-mile radius. I'm just showing you what you can do here. Normally you wouldn't want to do 2 miles, but just to give you guys the idea, you might be dealing with vacant land. So not only can you control the filters, distance, but you also want to control the property class. If you're comping a commercial building or vacant land, then you're going to want to comp a vacant land. Or in this case, if it's a residential property, then it's residential that I want to comp. And then from there, what type of residential property? Is it an apartment? Is it a condominium? Is it a duplex? It's a single family property. And now we get to see all of the results within my radius. So that's how the system works here. The final thing I want you to do when running comps is, after you apply your filters and you essentially see your results, go through them and make sure you're looking at characteristics, make sure you're looking at square footage, prices. Some of them are going to be anomalies, very low, so you probably don't want to click those. But the idea is you're going to want to find the ones that meet the right criteria for you, check them off. And then as you check the ones that you want, you'll notice that your summary near the top will be adjusted. So here you'll see the average sell price, price per square footage, days on market, based on what's been selected down here. As long as you hit save comps, it locks in your filters for you and those properties that you selected. So that way you don't have to run comps while you're on the phone again with the owner later on. The comps are locked in. As a matter of fact, not only are they locked in, but you can go to actions and hit view comp report. And what that will do is it will generate a comps report for you that takes the subject property and its details and puts it on that page. It's listing history, your comp search criteria, so what you did to run comps and the filters, the low, the high, and the average based on the comps that you've selected, where those comps are on the map, the types of sources that you use to run your comps and their characteristics, subject property just as a side-by-side to that, and then further down the comps, like a little summary of each comp. Green is the public record, MLS is the MLS record. So we're just letting our buyers know, or our sellers know, here's a property that's sold in your neighborhood, the county recorded it, the MLS recorded as well, right? So that way when the owner wants full price and it's falling apart, the house, you can show them what a full price property looks like and why you can't give them full price. And then finally, let's say you decide to visit the property, talk to the owner, talk to them over the phone. Here at the top, you have tags and statuses. So you can say we've scheduled an appointment, or pending review, or offer was made. The print button, so let's say we locked up the contract and we got to explain our buyer about the person being in pre-foreclosure, having a lien and all that good stuff. I don't think you can do that all by phone, so just hit that print button at the top. And what that will do is generate a comparative market analysis for you. And it pretty much just gives all the details that we just went through on this report here. Last market sale listing history, property details, lien details, the ownership transfer history, pre-foreclosure details, listing history, comps that are unfiltered, and all of that statistics as well. And then last is Rehab Calculator. So let's say you visited the property, you got your checklist, right? Now with the Rehab Calculator, we can send you to Bluehammer, which will allow you to essentially calculate a rehab virtually. But they're going to give you retail costs. That's the catch. It's going to be retail costs, not wholesale costs. And I can go about it two ways. I can search by popular projects. This is what most rehabbers are doing today. Like when you buy a property that's distressed and you're trying to fix and flip it to put it back on market as soon as possible, these are typically what's performed, right? So what this allows me to do is just choose a category and then a subcategory, like I just need to put in a toilet or I need to do a complete remodel because that bathroom was horrible. And from there, it's going to ask me other questions like what type of bathroom? Was it a separate tub and shower, a shower only? And then finally, what type of material do you want to use? We're going to use the best material. And add to estimate will now calculate what my retail cost will be in this local environment. So to do a complete bathroom remodel in this zip code at retail on average is $18,563. Retail do-it-yourself, go out there and buy the parts and pieces and install it, $9,300. The line items found on these invoices are right here, 47 of them, and we can see those invoice line items. So the idea with Bluehammer was allowing you to search by popular projects that most investors are doing, or for those that are advanced rehabbers, you can go to individual actions, and you have several items that you can choose from. And this approach here is for someone like that's really hands-on. Like I need HVAC from here. I need the cooling central AC type. You know, I want to repair or install a new one, and you just keep going through the options, and then Bluehammer is going to give you the local repair costs and the material costs. The idea is with Propstream, you have a lot, not to just analyze the property and see the level of motivation, but you can print the details, you can run comps using MLS and public records, get photos, and have the rehab report. So that way, when you're speaking to your buyers, it's all there. For those that don't really understand, this is like 10 different websites together. County website, a different county website, another county website. Bankruptcy comes from a different source. MLS comes from the realtors. Tax information's from a different website. Mortgage information comes from lenders, right? The occupancy comes from the United States. So this is like 7 or 10, I would say now, different websites coming together on one page. So that way it's easier to read and you don't have to have, 7 different websites open on your computer tab, right? So that's the amount of details and aggressive data that we collect. And the reason why we did that is because without that, then the filter doesn't exist. So here in my properties, you'll be able to see any of the specific properties that you've saved. You'll also be able to create new groups by hitting this plus sign here and adding, any other favorite groups that you like. It might be a group where you've purchased the successors map or a group that you've created for a friend, right? Marketing list below is where you'll be able to see your marketing list that you've created over time. So as you're saving a pre-foreclosure list, a tax lien list, as you're uploading a driving for dollars list, a probate list, any of the properties that you've either pulled from our database or imported into our database will be assigned here in the marketing list. And the idea here is now that they're on the marketing list, you'll be able to click on a marketing list, the results will populate, and then you'll have an export button here at the top that you can select. So that export button will allow you to export our data or a property that you've imported into our system or a list that you've imported into our system and got our data, and then export it out once you have our data. So this is an area, again, where we store your results, those specific properties, or the marketing list that you're saving from our database or a list that you've imported. And once we give you the details here, you can then check them off, hit the export button, and now you can take our data on a CSV folder and take it elsewhere. Now that's kind of what I call phase one. There are many users out there that just need the data. So they're searching and then saving and exporting or importing and exporting. Now for those that want to take it a step further with Propstream, we can give you the ability to go into your contacts page. And what this allows you to do is manually edit any of your contact information, because you might be door knocking or you might have some form of neighbor telling you the phone number or the email of that said owner. So here in the contacts page, think of it as your phone book. What's also important here is that you can import at the very top. The idea here is that you bought this list somewhere else, you just signed up for Propstream. We don't want you to set that list aside. Go ahead and import it on over. And the reason you would like to do that is because now we can skip trace it. So Contacts is geared for you to manually edit any of the properties that you've saved through our database or import a list from an outside database. But once it's in the contacts page, again, you can manually edit that import list. You can manually edit any of the properties that you saved with us. But the idea is once it's in here, now it can be skip trace, right? So I can now click on skip trace and it's going to give me options to choose from. The first one is select my contacts. So when I do that, here at the top is a drop-down menu, and it's going to ask me to choose any of my contacts that are in my contacts. So that could be my imported list. It could be another imported list of my choosing. Once they are all checked off, or let's say I don't want to do LLCs, I can uncheck that. To save you time, we just ignore LLCs, so you can just leave them checked off. And when you hit add selected contacts, we put them in the selected contacts area here for you, meaning, hey, these are the ones that you want to skip trace, all 241 of them. I'm going to go ahead and hit done. Then I get to choose what items I want. So here I can choose whether I want phone numbers only, if I just do phone number campaigns, emails only, if I do email campaign. So you actually get to choose what items you want, and that will actually change your pricing a little bit. And then phones or emails together. So I want both phones and emails. So not only do you get to choose what items you want, you also get tiered pricing depending on how many people you're ordering or how many addresses you're ordering at once. And another benefit is that we refund you for anything that we don't capture. So in the next page, it's going to show you an authorization amount and hold amount. It's going to say, this is how much the hold amount is, $23.76. It's going to remove any LLCs or duplicates or any corporations from your list because we can't skip trace it. So we let you know, hey, we noticed that's how many there are in this list. So there are only 99 possible skip traces that we can perform. Now, of that 99 at 24 cents, this is your hold amount, right? So essentially what we're doing is just putting this amount on hold so we can go and do the service for you. Now, let's say out of the 99 possible skip traces, we get 90 of them to get results. Well, then those 9 will get refunded back to you. So 9 times 24, what, dollar and $2.16 will be refunded back to you. So this is just a hold amount to let us do that service for you. And then once we get the results after you place the order and name it, here in your contacts place under Skiptracing is where you will see your results. And Skiptracing usually takes about 5-10 minutes. In about 5-10 minutes, you will get your results. So just click on it and it will say completed at the top, and the phone numbers and emails will be presented to you in this fashion right here. And so from there, once you get your results, you can then now check those off and hit the export button. So not only did you build a list with us, but now you have their contact information. Or again, you're coming on over to Propstream, you have a list from a different provider. They didn't have skip tracing, they didn't have marketing. So you can take that list, go into the contacts page, import it, and now we can skip trace an imported group or an outside list. We've actually embedded our own marketing system into the Propstream application. So here in the campaign page is where you can now take a list that you've saved, either, again, specific properties that you saved, a marketing list that you've built with us, or a list that you've imported with us. Once you've done that, the campaign page will allow you to now campaign to that marketing list or imported list. Here it's going to show you all of your active campaigns, and you can have as many active campaigns as you like. And that's the idea, is we know that there's no 2 of the same marketing lists. So we don't want you to have, one campaign for everybody. That's just going to cause confusion. So as you can see here, some campaigns are for liens. Some campaigns are for vacant properties. Some campaigns are for buyers, for tax delinquencies. So for your imported list. Now, the reason why we created a campaign for each marketing list or designed it that way is because each campaign gets its own free website. So when you create a campaign, you actually get a landing page for free. It's part of your subscription. And the idea with the landing page is that you don't need to be handing out your phone numbers and emails anymore, right? The idea is I can create this website that has a picture of my choosing, or one of our default templates like this one right here, a header that tells them what I'm doing to help them, a message that enforces that, and then an application. And if they fill out this application, then I get an email notification saying I need to call somebody, right? So rather than handing out, phone numbers to 3 people or phone numbers to 50 people or 30 people, or sometimes your list will become in, hundreds. You can just create a landing page for those 5 or for those 300 people to go to. And for those that really need your help, they'll fill out the form and you'll get an email notification saying, hey, I'm a warm lead. I need you to give me a call back. And once you create that website, campaign can get created for a marketing list, website gets associated with it, and then you get to decide, do I send postcards to get them to that website? Do I do a ringless voicemail to get to them that website? Or do I do an email marketing to get them to that website? And then finally, for those that need a little bit more help, the help section gives you our video library, email support, our live chat is coming soon, and then support call center, and then our webinars area. So if you join our webinar, there are webinar videos here, and then there are video library tutorials here as well. So this is the Propstream user interface, or the toolbar. Get familiar with that. After the help section is the settings area. So this I usually recommend is where you probably should start. We'd like to get your photo if you have it. You don't need it. It's optional, but it does put your photo up here. Your member profile, that's very important. Here you'll be able to change your login information, but down below is your business information. If you're going to be using our campaign section, particularly the postcards, we would highly recommend that you fill this out, because the postcards are dynamic, our postcards at least. meaning that they're coded. They'll say things like, "Hi, my name is so and so, and if you have your name filled out here, we're going to put that on the postcard for you." They'll also say things like, "If you're interested in selling your house, give me a call." And depending on if you have the business area filled out here, the phone number area, then we're going to take this phone number and put it on your postcard. So I usually recommend when you're in the settings, fill this out. It just makes your postcard campaigns a little bit easier for you. Any changes you make, hit save or update profile. To the right's billing information, this will allow you to control, the subscription or the card that you want to use for your subscription, as well as for your in-app purchases like buying documents, skip tracing, postcards, ringless voicemails. Below that is the prepaid credits. So instead of having us, charge your card every single time you do a transaction, you can just put an amount in your wallet or your prepaid credits. This is also designed for our mobile app as well. So we do have a mobile app, which I'll be showing, and that is going to just pretty much show you, well, any purchases that you're going to need to make on the mobile app will require you to have credits. So you're going to have to go into your desktop settings, add credits in order to do the skip tracing and postcards on our mobile app. And that's just the profile billing area. Then we have manage team. So some of you investors are going to be scaling up your business, and that's going to require having an assistant, a virtual assistant, bird dogs that are out there looking for properties for you. And there's 3 types of team members that we can add. There's one that's going to get full and web mobile access. So for $35 on top of my current subscription, my team member can have the same web access I have and full mobile access. So they can run comps, they can build lists for me, they can print reports, they can skip trace for me. The difference, though, is that I can limit their download capability each month versus me, I have unlimited, and I can also limit their spending every month as well. So that's the first team member option. The second team member option is just web only. So my virtual assistant doesn't live anywhere near me or in my market. All they do is just run comps or build lists for me, so they don't need mobile access. They just need full web access only, and that will be an additional cost down. And then we have the Scout. So the Scout is for your bird dogs, right? Your Uber driver, your nephew who just got out of college and is looking for something to do, on the side. The Scout allows you to give them access to the mobile app, but they don't get to see details at all. What they get to do is, as they're driving around and they see an abandoned property or property with a code violation, they can tap the parcel, tag it, meaning add notes to it, and then they can favorite it. And what favoriting does is it stores it in a folder in which you will see in the My Properties page. When they do that, here in My Properties, you will see the new mobile area. So here we're going to have the name of that individual, and we're going to show you the properties that they've been favoriting on the go. And so the luxury here is, as they're out there building a list for me, I'm here now clicking on these properties, and I can now run comps from here. So they're out there pulling properties into a list for me. They're putting notes on these properties. They're putting tags. They're scheduling appointments, and I get to see that here. And so that's